In this episode of Escaping the Rabbit Hole, my guest reveals the right-wing bouncing souls manipulation tactic that kept him frantically researching conspiracy theories. Can you guess what this is? Keep listening to find out.
Welcome to Escaping the Rabbit Hole, hosted by former conspiracy theorist Antonio Perez, author of Converting Conspiracy Theorists. Antonio looks at conspiracy theories from multiple angles, such as how do conspiracy theorists impact their family and friends? How can they escape the grip of conspiracy theories? And why do they fall down the rabbit hole in the first place? You'll discover strategies to set clear boundaries with people stuck in dangerous conspiracy theories and improve your mental well-being. Here's your host, Antonio Perez.
Aloha, this is Antonio with escapingtherabbithole.com. As a former conspiracy theorist, I have a good idea of what kind of pulls people into it, and I always like getting other people that were into conspiracy theories to talk about their journey. Today, I have John, known as the ex-conspiracy theorist. Thank you for jumping on the call.
Thank you.
So, let's kind of jump into it. How did you get pulled into conspiracy theories in the first place?
First, it was pretty much what drags people in, like a gateway drug. It's politics because of the political bias. So in that case, in the 2009 and 2010 era, it was the conspiracy theory surrounding Obama, and the big promoter of that was Glenn Beck. And as I listened to Glenn Beck further, that led me to other more anti-Obama outlets, which led me to Alex Jones, which led me to what all the conspiracy theories he believed in.
Yeah. So it's funny, in my book, here's my shameless plug. Converting Conspiracy Theorist. I mentioned how I was real deep into conspiracy theories, and the one event that kind of stopped me from believing, I don't know if I've told you the story. I was coming back from computer school. The bus would come down Rosa Parks Avenue in Detroit, and it would turn towards the highway, and then it would do that day in and day out. But one day the pattern changed. So keep in mind, it happened for about a year. And anytime a pattern changes, we notice right away. We see the confirmation bias. Oh, it's not confirmation bias, but we see when a pattern changes. Anyhow, the bus, instead of turning onto Michigan Ave, instead of turning towards the highway, it crosses over, gets to Michigan Ave, and takes a left. So at that point, I'm already primed to see things because of Alex Jones, all that priming. Okay, there's something happening. Next thing I know, I hear like a thump, thump, thump. I can hear like this, like a whirlybird sound, and I'm thinking like, what the hell? I look outside the window of the bus, 2 black helicopters are hovering over a building. I'm like, holy shit, what's happening? This is 2007, so I'm knee deep in Alex Jones rhetoric. I get off the bus, and off in the distance, it looks like a bomb had gone off. There's looks like paramilitaries members in the streets got fully armed. So I'm thinking like, Alex Jones is right. Martial law is here. They're coming for us. They're coming for our guns. Even though I didn't have a gun. So I'm getting ready to like hightail it. I want to get home, warn all my Patriot friends on MySpace. Okay, I got to warn everybody. This is a false flag. As I'm getting ready to dart in front of the train station, I look over. I see about a block away on the right, I see this guy. The best way to describe him, he looks like a scrotum stretched over a skeleton with 2 eyes bulging out. So just keep that in mind. And as I'm coming up to the guy, I'm like, how do I know this guy? I've seen him before. My mind's racing, heart's pounding, I'm starting to panic. My plan was to, once I get past him, just run home. So, and you understand this when you're paranoid, you're scared all the time. So as I'm getting ready to run past the guy, I look over, I'm like, why the fuck is the actor Steve Buscemi here? And I heard quiet on the set. I'm like, oh, it clicked. I looked around. I'm like, you're filming a freaking movie. Yeah, they were filming The Island. So, full disclosure, Steve Buscemi.
Oh, yeah, he was in that movie. I forgot. Yeah.
But he wasn't in that scene. But I put him in that. I've told that story so many times. I put him in the scene, and that's the interesting thing about conspiracy theories. When we tell ourselves these stories so many times, we start to believe them. Conspiracy theorists will start seeing evidence that does not exist.
Mm-hmm.
And then when somebody asks to back it up, it's that whole crazy rhetoric. What's What do you think pulled you out? Was there like one or two events that kind of switched everything?
It was pretty much college. When I went to Florida Southern College, I took some foreign policy classes, learning basic stuff about um, how the world order it has been, how foreign policy between different countries has changed over the years. And then when I heard the term New World Order, I was like, oh my God, this is like they're going to talk about the New World Order and how they try to create a global government or something. And then
Yeah, you got all excited.
got it mentally, but I was keeping it cool. It was just letting my professor speak. And then when they talked about it, it was just like a benign term for like what the current world order is post the collapse of the Soviet Union, and pretty much like the new world orders I brought up every time like some big event happens, like would change it. Like if like there's been all kinds of orders. There's been a Roman order, an Islamic order, Persian order, Egyptian order, and this era is called the a lot of foreign policy people call it the American order because America is the dominant one. Or and if there's another era like where there's another foreign power that's like equal to that the U.S., it'll be like the the two-state power in which like two states mainly run the guided most of the world. And yeah, so it was just a very normal term. Like I think it was first coined by George H.W. Bush, and yeah, ever since then, like as soon as I found out like that term's like a very benign term and it doesn't mean anything, I'm like thinking, okay, what else is he lying about? Then basically that's what pushed me to like look up the context if there was one for almost everything Alex Jones was saying.
Yeah, no, there's a whole broken clock. Um, it's funny when people, if you bring that up to conspiracy theorists, like, oh, he might be wrong about this, but he predicts a lot of stuff. I'm like, no, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't. Yeah.
No. Did I ever send you that video where I ran into him?
I think you sent me a photo. Oh no, it was a video. Yeah, yeah.
So me
He's
and
just like,
it was funny. Me and hypnotist friend, he does um shows on a cruise ship. So he came to Kauai, and I took him on a hike, and I was talking to him how a lot of hypnotists buy into conspiracy theories because I think a lot of hypnotists are promised like, oh, you're gonna get secret knowledge to be able to help people. You're better than doctors, blah blah blah. It's kind of built like that. I guess a lot of it's marketing because if you can build prestige into something, it's easier to sell something. When we're doing the hike, I talked to him about how Alex Jones is crazy, yada yada yada. And 6 hours later, we're at a restaurant. I look by, I'm like, holy shit, that's Alex Jones. I was like, let me get a picture. And then it dawns on me, I'm like, I can't share a picture of me with Alex Jones on Facebook. I'm gonna look like an asshole. I need to get video for this full disclosure.
yeah, you're lucky. Only celebrity I've ever run into and say, hey, can I take a picture with you? Is Shia LaBeouf.
Oh,
Um,
he's a weirdo.
yeah, but this was back in 2012 maybe. Yeah.
To get instant access to the newest episodes of the podcast and the first 3 chapters of Antonio's newest book, go to www.escapingtherabbithole.com and enter your first name and best email and smash the button that says Get the Podcast.
How was your mental health going through all this? Did you have any issues with mental health beforehand, or
No one's ever asked me that before. The answer to that would be no. No, like nothing that no like extreme paranoia or anxiety is something that would like I guess or schizophrenia. Something that would like prone someone to believing all sorts of things. It was just gullibility mostly.
oh, okay.
Yeah, especially when you're young and easily impressionable. Like you'll if you don't think like a detective or like I think like a scientist or think basic critical thinking, you start to believe
Believe
things
everything.
that yeah, exactly. Depending on like who gets to you first.
Well, a lot of conspiracy theorists start with the conclusion first. They start with the conclusion, then they add evidence, and then it doesn't matter what evidence you show them, it doesn't work. There's a really good book. Have you ever heard of street epistemology?
No.
Street epistemology the term was coined by Peter Boghossian. He has this methodology of asking questions to help people to rethink how they got to the beliefs that they believe. One of the questions I love in it is, let's say somebody says they believe in satanic pedophiles running the planet. You could ask them, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you in the belief that satanic pedophiles run the planet? And then they'll give you their baseline, and they might say, about a 7. And then you just ask them, like, why didn't you choose a 6? When they think you're going to ask them a question like, why didn't you go higher? So they kind of put the defenses up, and you say, why didn't you choose a lower number? They how do I say it? They have to provide evidence of why the belief might be wrong, which is kind of interesting. Do you know if you have any history with trauma or anything?
No, not before that. Nothing that would that would like make somebody vulnerable or
Okay.
nothing like that. No.
What's the one idea you think people get wrong about conspiracy theorists?
That that they're mentally ill or like they're schizophrenic. I think is the
Yeah.
biggest one, which isn't the case. Like some of them are. I mean, they'll talk crazy, and then when you bring up basic stuff, like say, but how is that the case if like this is happening? It'd be kind of like over kind of a stretch to say that. It's like they'll be like, they're like they'll ponder that. They'll give like thought to it. And it's like, but they'll stick to their original beliefs as if they're
Yeah.
as if they're religion. Yeah.
I think people with mental health issues can definitely be prone to them. With the same token, I think that people can can have mental health issues caused by conspiracy theories.
Oh yeah, it could definitely trigger it because one of the biggest issues with mental health is, especially with people that have delusions, is when um, people around them give into their delusions. Sometimes they might play with them. So, oh, you think the body's running before you better start digging, and then they'll start digging. Reaffirming what they think is real will only make their mental health worse when you give
Yeah.
into their delusions.
In my book, I talk about this thing called the FAME model, FAME. Let me know if this kind of hits true for you. This is how I explain myself getting pulled into conspiracy theorists. F stands for feeling powerless. At least for me, I felt powerless. I'm like, I want to feel like I'm in control. And that's part of when I thought the martial law was happening. I felt powerless, like a victim of the new world order in the world around me, but I wanted to be a hero. But hey, guys, I'm going to save you guys. A is apophenia, which I know this hits for you. Apophenia is connecting the dots. When you see everything, you start connecting the dots. And I think when you're connecting the dots, you almost create, in my opinion, you create like a larger meta story of everything. And I think that's why QAnon has been so successful. Is QAnon seems to, it's a conspiracy of everything. They tie everything together. M is misinformation, which is blatantly obvious. And then E is external locus of control. Are you familiar with the idea of locus of control?
No.
So locus of control is a good metaphor is who is driving the car? Are you driving or are you a passenger? Are you in control? Are you in full agency, or is it do you feel like a victim? Do you think the Illuminati and all these nefarious forces are controlling your life? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So how much of that fame model kind of resonated with what you are going through?
Um, well, like being a college student back then, like you feel not making a lot of money initially, and being someone you don't think can make a difference. I mean, sometimes it got to the point where it's like, oh, we got to overthrow this big bad government. It's like, oh, but I don't have the money. What could I do? And and basically, um, you you would listen to Alex Jones, and he would and you'd wonder like when he would say when was the time. It's like kind of like when people ask their preachers like when will the end come, when should we be ready, and then he'll like I'll let you know.
You know why? Because you can't make a lot of money. You have to keep on grifting your followers.
Yeah, I mean Alex Jones didn't really drain me. I think I spent only like $150 worth of DVDs. I
I
still
think
got them.
I have an embarrassing picture of me wearing a. I have a so funny. I have a Che Guevara shirt with a Infowars sticker. With those two don't go together at
Oh
all.
wow, is it from his website or just someone
No,
made
no,
it?
no, no, no. I had the Che Guevara shirt, but then I bought I think an Infowars sticker. It's funny. We used to do a conspiracy theory brew and view at the bar I worked at in Detroit. We would hand out tinfoil to everybody. So we'd sit there, we would drink. We also did this thing that made us paranoid. Oh, called cocaine. That's one reason. This is probably over 25 years ago. That's another reason I was paranoid. Your impressionable. I was probably in my mid 20s, impressionable, paranoid. I remember one time I'd gone to work, and I get to work, and there's a sign on the door saying the establishment has been shut down. So my immediate thought was, they got to us. They don't want us to expose them. They're shutting us down. Well, the issue is the owner of the business, God rest his soul, he passed away. He was not good at business. He wasn't like paying his taxes, so he got shut down for that. It wasn't. I thought like the government's coming after us. They're trying to shut us off. It wasn't. But my brain decided, confirmation bias. That's what my brain told me was happening.
Mm.
What's, I guess, the hardest challenge that you've had to overcome in your life?
Mostly just like looking back and say, "Oh my God, I wasted a year of my life." It's kind of
Wait,
like
it was only a year?
little over a year. It was from 2009 to 2010, so that would be 2 years, pretty much.
Holy shit, you got out easy. I was from like 2001 to like 2007.
Oh wow, yeah. So you were into the 9/11 stuff, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
So did you have this feeling that that 9/11 going into 2008 was like old and like it's tiresome, like we gotta move on to something else?
Possibly.
Yeah, because I've noticed that, and I think the single biggest thing that destroyed the 9/11 truth movement was the election of Obama. Because at the time, most people that were believing it were people that were like people on the left. But what after Obama got elected, that thing started to go down because I'm guessing they think, oh, he won't investigate 9/11. There's probably nothing to it, and like that it just slowly faded away.
Yeah. One thing I noticed, from 2001 to Obama, it's an inside job. It was the government. But then, when they're trying to claim he's a Muslim and this and that, he was much more of a threat, I think, than the inside job. Then there's the idea, it went from it's an inside job to the Muslim Brotherhood. It's the bad Muslims.
Yeah, the it's like the newer thing that's being talked about. Like, I mean, the Muslim Brotherhood, which is a real organization. I mean, I learned about my foreign policy class, but but it didn't become trendy until the revolution in
Until a
Tunisia.
brown man was in.
Yeah,
And then, yeah, and then
I
people got spooked.
often have this thing I tell conspiracy theorists that think he's a Muslim. I say, oh, black plus white equals brown equals Arab equals Muslim equals terrorist. Because like that, it
Yeah.
would not be marketable to say he's a Muslim if he was not half white, half black. Because
Oh,
it's
because
pretty
he was
freaky.
full black. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, his mom's side was white, but his
So
dad,
he looks more Arabic being black and white. That's a good
yeah, with the
point.
Browns. Yeah. Hmm.
I never thought about that.
There's a meme on face. You can look it up. A meme that says Trump was a Muslim, and it's this like little Muslim kid that looks just like Trump.
That's funny.
And it's a whole story about how he was adopted.
I have a conspiracy theory about conspiracy theories, so very kind of meta, that the first conspiracy theory that we get introduced to is almost like a foundation of a house. And then any new conspiracy theories we get, it's almost like other layers of the house are being built on top of it. And I think my idea is that any newer conspiracy theories kind of lay the groundwork and make the original conspiracy theories seem more real. My idea is, if the original conspiracy theory that we bought into were to be challenged or dismantled, if we stopped believing it, if it would kind of be like foundations, cracks in the foundation going through a house. What are your thoughts on that?
Uh, in terms of like the whole belief in it falling apart.
Yeah, in terms of, let's say, the belief in the original conspiracy theory falling apart, if that were to kind of go through the other conspiracy theories.
Yeah, that definitely contributes to like being deprogrammed from believing other stuff. Like you might like break away from like if you're an Alex Jones fan and you broke away from him believing Sandy Hook is like, okay, he believes this. What else is he pushing that couldn't be true either? And then it's just like what I did about finding out what else he's lying about, it just creates a domino effect.
I'm looking in chapter 10 of book. I talk about conspiracy and converting questions. At one point, I talked about how Alex Jones, his whole thing. If they lied to you about that, what else have they lied to you about? And you're like, oh, you're right. What else have they lied to me about? Were you ever into, I guess, alternative health quackery?
No, that wasn't trendy at the time. 2000. I mean, I didn't take the swine flu vaccine back then, but then again, I'm
That,
actually glad. I'm actually glad I didn't, because me personally, I'm actually allergic to the COVID Moderna shot.
oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, 'cause I've written about this on my page. I just happened to be one of those rare cases of someone who had an allergic reaction to it. Brought my platelets from, which is basically what allows you to coagulate when you bleed, either externally or internally. My platelets went from 150,000 to 5,000, so I was like one punch away from death.
What what so allergic to Moderna. Is there any other ones? What about like the J&J,
Which one is that?
Johnson and Johnson?
Oh, I didn't try it. My current hematologist tells me not to. Well, any vaccine, he tells me to like check with him first, because I also have a exemption from the MMR vaccine, mumps, measles, and rubella, and but I happen to have natural immunity from that, so I don't really need it.
Okay,
But yeah, that thing also triggered it when I was a child too.
that's not fun.
No, I mean I've not had an issue with it for 25 years, and then it's just like if I'm take a vaccine that apparently like ruins your platelets, then yeah, I'm screwed.
Yeah, don't do that. No.
Yeah,
How
but
did
back to your thing about health. Like it wasn't really trendy back then, 2009, 2010.
yeah? I think that might be more of like the prepper kind of thing.
Oh yes, yeah.
We all have a conspiracy theory that was too crazy for us. I remember at the when we were doing the conspiracy theory brew and view, people would come in like sheeple, as we would call them, would come in and be like, "Oh, what about the reptilian agenda?" I knew they were trying to like poke fun at me. I'm like, "Oh, I'm not that crazy. I just believe this crazy shit that satanic pedophiles run the planet or whatever crazy shit." I almost use it as like a lever to be like, "Look, I'm not that crazy. I'm still normal." What was your line that was too far?
Back then, it was definitely the reptilians, but at the same time, when I would listen to Alex Jones's show, he would have David Icke on, who's like the godfather of that stuff. And I'm
Icky,
thinking to
icky,
myself,
icky is a good way to say him.
yeah, I think that is how you properly pronounce it,
I think it's
believe it or
Ike,
not.
but I like icky. Icky sounds better.
Yeah, but like when he would have him on, I'm like thinking, oh, like they're not really talking about reptilians, but like this is his thing. Why is he pushing it? And like, yeah, but years later, this that I put two and two together, saying figuring out like why he was doing that back then. It's basically um, ha- he, get as much of a market of conspiracy theorists as possible, and that's why he Jones
Well,
expanded to Sandy Hook. Like he was just doing whatever was trending on. And this is in the court records for his defamation lawsuit. They were looking at like what was trending on Google with analytics search terms, and that's basically how you find out like what people are want talking about and what people are wanting to hear. And if they find the most popular conspiracy theorists talking about this, they're going to be like, "Oh wow, it's being exposed."
yeah. Was it Google Analytics or was it like Google Trends?
I may maybe Google Trends. I may be getting the words wrong,
Yeah.
but you can look it up in the court records about how they were looking up search terms at the time, trying to figure out what to talk about based on their show.
How do you prevent yourself from falling back down into the rabbit hole?
Oh, I don't. That's actually a good question. If something happened that's like, okay, I'm absolutely convinced this was staged. Like, there's a pretty high threshold for. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's staged, but it's like it's mostly boring stuff, like Jesse Smollett.
Yeah.
Like, and they say, "Oh, see, things are staged." It's like, yeah, pretty much not the stuff that you talk about, but
And
um,
that's different. That's different. Well, okay, something like that, Smollett, that's easy to stage because it's one person, two people. When you start
Oh,
adding
one,
other,
three, but yeah,
oh yeah, three. But yeah, you start adding other people. But here's the deal: they couldn't, even though they stage it, it still got out.
yeah.
And you start adding other people to the fold, it's impossible.
Hmm.
When we were active in conspiracy theories, we didn't really think that one through. You don't really have that. You don't think about like, wow, it takes a lot of people. You know why? Conspiracy theories are sexy. Normal life is boring as shit. Conspiracy theories are like that. It's like that, like a really like interesting movie. It's something that's just so fancy. Like, wow, it seemed conspiracy theories are sexier than than world is chaotic. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Life is boring. So in conspiracy theories, they know their stories. Like I was talking about my story with when with Steve Buscemi. I didn't actually see him there, but I've told that story so many times. I've mentally put him there. And now it's to the point where I've almost had to question myself. I'm like, wait, did I see him there? No. Because anytime we access a memory, we're altering that memory. It's never the same memory. If you have a memory from childhood, anytime you access it, it alters it a little bit. So I've told that story so many times. And I'm like, wait, I'm like, is he really there? It's interesting thing with our memory.
Is your mental and emotional health being affected by a loved one trapped in conspiracy theories? If so, discover how Antonio can help you set clear boundaries and reclaim your mental well-being. Book your free 20-minute consultation call by going to www.escapingtherabbithole.com/call. That's escapingtherabbithole.com/CALL.
How did you define yourself politically before, during, and after your time as a conspiracy theorist?
Back then, your standard Republican, which had, or I think it was high 60% believe Obama wasn't born in the U.S. And right now, I'm pretty left economically, socially, but I'm willing to say like, okay, like this guy's on the left. This is a majority belief on the left. It's wrong. Move on, basically.
Yeah, yeah, I'm pretty left. So it's funny. My family are pretty much all liberals. Parents are teachers, so gonna more often than not gonna lean left. I don't know how I ever fell down into libertarian. I thought I was a libertarian. I'm like, no,
I got into libertarianism back after the conspiracy phase briefly. Like I supported Ron Paul for president in 2012, and then after he didn't win, I decided to vote for Obama.
I remember when I went to Florida before I moved to Kauai. And I think a lot of it was wanting to find a community. I remember seeing, you always see those random. It was in Florida. You see those random people on the side of the road with Ron Paul flags. I'm like, oh god, ah! My parents, I was like, let's pull over. I'm guaranteed they're probably like, oh Jesus Christ, gotta fucking deal with this shit again. But it's funny as I look back at a lot of the conspiracy people I'm hanging out with, a lot of hateful people. I had a lot. There was definitely there was Oracle Broadcasting. I was helping promote them. A lot of homophobic dude. Straight up, they're homophobic assholes, transphobic. And there's some straight up racist ass people. I remember some of
Oh
the
yeah,
memes that shared. I'm like, when the Michigan, the Michigan militia, right?
I've heard of them. Yeah.
They I mentioned in the book, I think first chapter that I was in my parents' living room. I get a call from John from Michigan Militia, which is weird because he lived in Southwest Detroit, which is 99% Mexican.
Hmm.
He, yeah, and the founder of the Michigan Militia it was really weird. And he called me up, and I remember asking him if I wanted to join. He probably saw my name on different message forums or message boards, and I asked him like, yeah, I'm like, asked him about joining. I'm like, I'm Mexican, can I join? Click, straight dial tone. I was like, okay. I was like, I see how you line. And the Michigan militia, it's so funny. Those ding dongs that thought it would be a good idea to try to kidnap the governor of Michigan. How did they think that was going to go? There, there's a lot. It's funny. There's a lot. I don't know if you realize this. There's a lot of militia movements in Michigan. I'm sure Florida. How's Florida? I'm sure you guys have a couple of them.
Oh, I've not heard of one that's active in Florida. I mean, if there was, it probably is like a branch of the Oath Keepers from back then.
Yeah.
But like Oath Keepers is pretty much like their founder's gone to jail for going to prison for 25 years.
I'm getting an argument with this guy on Facebook today. He's talking about how January 6th it was FBI. Blah, blah. I'm like, so you're telling me these people are willing to go to prison, or no, they're Antifa. I'm like, so the
Yeah,
people that normally have masks on are willing to take their masks off and go to prison for 20 years. It doesn't make any sense.
yeah. I asked them which ones that have been arrested are Antifa, and which ones that didn't get arrested but they were caught on tape doing something. Which ones are Antifa? It's always the ones that say, "Oh, they're unidentified." I haven't really heard anybody say like, "Oh, the people that went to prison or they're going to jail, or they were arrested were Antifa members." And sometimes the people that get accused of being Antifa, they're like people that are arrested, but they were released and they charged dropped because the
Yeah.
evidence wasn't there. I'm not saying that they didn't do it or that they did do it, but like you don't have evidence, you just don't hold people.
I really like seeing a Trumper get accused for being Antifa. Oh, there's some
Oh,
kind
I
of
love that.
poetic
The
justice.
shaman, yeah, the shaman was accused of it. There's one guy who's like suing Fox News because he was arrested for
Is
January
that
6th, but he was go ahead.
is that the Epps guy?
I think that's him. I keep confusing him for the head of the FBI because I think they have similar names, but I think that it's Epps. Yeah,
Is that the one Tucker Carlson's like he's a yeah.
yeah. I was saying he could be. We just don't know. Like that Tucker Carlson
Yeah.
tone.
You know, I'm gonna start calling him Tucker Carlson. You know, a lot of the
Oh, that's brilliant.
yeah, I just thought about that one. A lot of Republicans talk about, oh, you guys are cucks, you guys are cucks. Do you remember Roger Stone?
Yeah, I know Roger Stone.
Yeah, it's funny, you know. So it's funny, like him and his breed of people like calling liberals cucks. He pulled out an ad in a swinger magazine asking, it said up as it said something like, "Need BBC for my wife." I'm like, you're the little definition of a cuck, especially with all these people that are crying about trans people. What is the idea? It's the idea that an accusation is a confession.
Accusation is a confession.
Yeah, well, let's say when you got these people, when people are screaming about trans people that are grooming kids, and all of a sudden, like lo and behold, you see a cop that gets busted grooming kids. You see a freaking some right wing.
Oh, people that get like arrested for things that they accuse others of doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
It happens all the time, and I'm not saying that there's not Democrats that are scumbags. There are. I brought this up before. When people are hyper focusing on pedophilia, that is fucking weird.
Yeah.
Like,
And a lot of times the obsession isn't actually saving. Like people like I talk to people who are like defensive of QAnon. It's like name one child QAnon has saved.
yeah,
One. And they're not able to bring it up. And there's like you have all these child busts that the FBI and law enforcement agencies announce. It's like, oh, how did you miss this one? They like you weren't even talking about like a pedophile ring in South Florida or something. Like you somehow missed that.
yeah.
What's up?
A few months ago, I was at a nursing home. We were caregivers for our elderly neighbors when he passed away. And there's this lady there, nice lady, but then at one point she's talking about religion. She's like, you know what? There's these radical people in the world. I'm like, oh shit, oh no. And she's like, there's this new type of gay. I'm like, oh, I already know. I'm like, oh.
Okay.
She's like, they're radicals. I'm like, whatever. And then one day, this is right around the Sound of Freedom. Everything she's talking about, I'm like, I know where you're getting these talking points from. And she's talking about, oh, there's these pedophiles that are trying to take our kids, and I remember I told him, like, listen, that movie's full of a lot of rhetoric, a lot of misinformation. I'm like, listen, I'm like, if you want to help kids, I can get you a number for organization on the island so you can help. And basically shut her up. I'm like, no, you're not looking for solutions. Conspiracy theorists are looking for problems while other people are trying to find solutions.
Yeah, and they're like Sam Cedar has brought. You know who Sam Cedar is, right?
I can hear his voice.
Majority Report.
Yeah. He's with that woman a lot, right? What's her name?
I don't know her name. But I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's brought this up about Alex Jones for years, saying that if Alex Jones didn't exist, he would have to the CIA or some some PR agency would have to invent him to to misdirect resources and attention away from um, problems that you could actually have meaningful change for. But then, like if you're saying you're against excessive or the militarization of police, that's fine. But you're not actually doing anything to try to um, change that. You're saying that they're militarizing because they're planning to round us all up. That's what's happening. Prepare for that. When it's just like a place over militarized, maybe they would use excessive force, and like maybe you want to prevent that. You could change stuff in the law, but they don't do that.
Yeah. They just want talking points to bitch and cry about. Thank God I'm not bound by the FCC because I have dropped so many cuss bombs. What did being a conspiracy theorist do for you? What kind of emotional need did it fulfill?
Well, probably what you've mentioned before, like gives us purpose. Like you don't really have a drive in life, and you feel like you're actually accomplishing something. That was the feeling at the time.
But you know what you were accomplishing was getting that hit of dopamine. Because every time you get a new conspiracy theory, you're like, oh my God, I found something else. And it's just, oh man, I watched an old video of myself. This is like 2007. There was a blimp flying over Detroit for Super Bowl, I think. I think it was Super Bowl or something. And I talked to one of my conspiracy theorist friends in California. We're on the phone. And this is like, of course, it's like 3 a.m. I've got no sleep, got insomnia. And of course, my brain's not is firing on all cylinders, but it's misfiring all cylinders. And at one point, I was talking about the satanic pedophiles, and it's so embarrassing to listen to. But I think it's good when you share things because I'm sure you were embarrassed for some of the stuff you thought and said, right?
Oh, oh yeah, I was saying stuff to my friends and some of my friends in high school, and I'm just thinking to myself, what were they thinking on their end when I this sent them Jason Burbish's New World Order defined movie on MySpace. What were they thinking then? Well, like, shit, what's wrong with this guy or something?
Yeah, like, oh my God, what is wrong with this guy? Well, I mean,
Yeah.
we both made it out alive, but I know that I can always fall back into it. That's why um certain jobs I avoided. I wanted to do copyright. If you're familiar with copywriting, it's basically writing sales copy to sell products. There's a lot of copywriters that are in a lot of copywriters that write sales copy to sell like financial stuff, prepper kind of markets. There's a lot of copywriters that fall into right-wing think, and I think what it is a lot of copywriting techniques use logical fallacies to sell people. And that's a lot of it, I think, models that same kind of conspiratorial thinking. It's us versus them. Big Pharma doesn't want you to know about this. And then people start buying their own bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
A little maddening. What does escaping the rabbit hole mean to you?
Basically getting out of this endless cycle phase of basically chasing ghosts that don't exist, and like
I love chasing ghosts that don't exist.
Yeah, going through the endless cycle trying to find evidence of it, and then um sometimes you'll get out of it, sometimes like you'll just keep doing the same thing over and over again, looking for you see a shadow on the wall, it's like, oh, that could have been it. You see another shadow, that could be it.
That in the book I talk about are you familiar with NLP or hypnosis at all?
No, I'm not too familiar with hypnosis. Okay. I actually don't know if it's real or not.
Yeah, I'll explain it. Hypnosis is like what you see on the movies is that's exciting. It's not that exciting in real life. I wish it was that exciting. You ever drive down the highway and then maybe you're driving and then maybe you forgot you like passed home, you're daydreaming? Real similar to that. I think the idea of hypnosis is being able to kind of turn off the critical faculty, that like chatter mind, so you can do work on yourself. That's what I've used it to overcome trauma, etc. Inside of hypnosis and the NLP community, there's this idea that the map is not the territory, meaning our reality is not necessarily like everybody interprets reality different. In the book, I talk about the idea of the map is not the territory. One day I was walking, doing a nightly walk. As I'm walking on the side, I see this guy. He looked like he's bent over smoking a cigarette. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm like, I don't know. This guy might be shady. Let me cross the street. As I'm closer, I go across the street. I look over. I'm like, oh, it's a freaking garbage bag. And then I'm like, oh, it's garbage bags piled up. My brain had almost created a complete rule saying, if you see people on the side of the road, be careful. Cross. These people are dangerous. Like you said, like we start seeing shadows. We start seeing things all over the place. Now, I'm gonna try something different I've never done. Ask me a question.
Did you ever think you would have to use violence?
Oh, good point. Good question.
Like, was there an epic moral dilemma? It's like, oh, these satanic pedophiles are running the place. Someone's got to do something. No one's going to do something, and is it going to have to be me? No, no volunteers. Oh, let's go into the pizzeria. So,
I think to a point I did because I wanted the exciting story. Like when you talk about things are boring, I wanted to be the hero. I'm like, I might have to do. Holy shit, this just impacts something. So when I was a kid, I forget what grade it was. I had a lot of illusions of grandeur. Illusions of grandeur. Like I wanted to be the hero. So yeah, I was definitely prone to conspiracy theories. So I remember it was seventh grade maybe. I used to have this fantasy, like what if terrorists were to come into the school? I want to be the ones that save everybody. I remember there was like some girl I thought it was cute. I'm like, I want to be the hero. I full played out that scenario in my mind. Like if terrorists came in, I'm gonna do this and that and that. So it's basically the same thing. I want to be the hero. So I think yeah, totally. I wanted to be the hero that stops everybody. But I've got no training. It's like these people that are fanatical gun nuts. You put them in a real world situation, they don't know what the hell they're doing. And I'm sure you've seen that being in law enforcement. I'm sure, especially law enforcement, probably have to keep their firearms training up.
yeah, well, like we have scenarios for like every situation. Like, had like, what's our plan? Like, if this happens, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna if it rolls down like this is what we have to do. Like, it's you always had that mindset, especially walking in the jail. You don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it's safer in the jail working around the inmates, um,
That are
because we've
locked
only
up,
had
yeah.
yeah. But still that like when they're out for their time, you're like walking around. There's like a big crowd of inmates, so it's safer in the jail than it is on the road. And we only had one person die in our agency for in the jail, but it was like he got pushed against the wall. He hurt his back and he died in surgery during complications. It was
Oh
like
wow.
it's tragic, but we've only had one officer die on the job there in the history of the jail.
That's good. So was it like an inmate that pushed him?
Yeah, it was he was a sergeant. He responded to a guy who broke his sprinkler head, and basically he got pushed. The floor was wet, fell on his back, and he died. And he went to surgery a couple days later, and to repair his back, and he died due to complications.
Oh, that guy got screwed for life. Killed the cop.
Oh, he already killed another guy, but yeah,
Well,
he
it's not he wasn't walking free anytime soon.
oh yeah. But
So I know I would say one last question. I got another one. Being in law enforcement, how many people do you see that are prone to conspiracy theories?
it's very common, like of course, because it's like when you select a certain demographic, there's gonna be an overrepresentation of that stuff. Like in
Yeah.
case of law enforcement, of course, most of them are Republicans, so of course you're gonna, and most conspiracy theorists are Republicans, so you're gonna have that overrepresentation. But I work with them. They'll work with you, but they're not planning to join the Oath Keepers, if that makes sense. Like they're very like
Well,
like we're not.
it's frowned upon. Well, I mean, maybe back in the day they could do it, but now oath keepers they're out in the public. It's so much more that well now that Enrico got sentenced to what 28 years something like that. It's
Yeah.
they figure it's probably a better idea to not join the oath keepers.
Hmm.
Thank you for jumping on. Do you have any last? Oh, here, do me a favor. Mention all your social media channels or websites.
Oh, I'm the ex-conspiracy theorist. You can just find me on. You can find me on YouTube. I also have a Twitter. I'm still gonna call it Twitter.
Yeah.
Twitter account. I'm on YouTube, same name. I think that's it.
And Facebook.
Facebook too. Yeah, that's my main one.
Thanks for listening to Escaping the Rabbit Hole. To get instant access to the newest episodes of the podcast and the first 3 chapters of Antonio's newest book, go to www.escapingtherabbithole.com and enter your first name and best email and smash the button that says Get the Podcast.